I just had a question in terms of the calendar and the venue changes, Judy. My concern is that the superintendent of schools who runs our district thoughtfully went over and devised a schedule that worked well for the administration and himself, and selected rooms where these meetings would be held. And this was the room that it would be held, or in Indian Hills. My concern is, I'm looking at the crowd tonight, and I would say I counted about 78 people. I don't know what the capacity of these other rooms that you're requesting to move this meeting to, but I would respectfully ask that that not happen. I do not believe that we should be adding costs to our school if we're being fiscally responsible. I think that we need to leave this venue alone. I see that we moved the chairs and the tables up a little closer this evening, and I think that the calendar is also changed. What appears to be a reflection of the meetings that are on the calendar for K through 8 in Wyckoff. It seems as though there are about 4 or 5 meetings that overlap with K-8 in Wyckoff only. I did look at Franklin Lakes K-8 and Oakland K-8. Their meetings are on Tuesdays, so those are not affected. And I do not believe that it is the high school district's responsibility to change the calendar to accommodate one school district when this is a regional high school board of education. I believe that Franklin Lakes and Oakland have done that to accommodate the high school by having their meetings on Tuesdays. So I would like to motion that we put the calendar back on this agenda and go back to the original calendar that our superintendent of schools requested, did his due diligence, did his scheduling with his administrative team, with his IT team, and I request that we do that this evening.
Second.
So this went through so many iterations. I don't have that calendar. Did you bring a copy with you of the last one? And do you have enough copies for the other board members to see?
No.
No.
You can pull it up on your computer. All board members should be able to pull it up on the computer. The original agenda is in the Dropbox.
Any discussion on this motion? Anyone have any comments, questions?
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
I thought the purpose of changing the calendar was to get us back to a 2-meeting-a-month schedule.
That is 2 meetings a month. Dr. Dionisio's original calendar was 2 meetings a month on the agenda.
With the exception of a few of the months that only and always have had 1 meeting a month.
Ms. Sullivan,
Yes.
can I make a comment?
Yeah, sure. Just put your microphone a little closer.
I made the recommendation to change the meeting location, and I'm going to repeat some of those reasons why. So there's difficulty hearing each other speak, including board members, student reps, and public sometimes. There's also difficulty seeing each other because we are so far away from everyone. The temperature in the auditorium, especially on the stage, is very cold and can be uncomfortable during very long meetings. The auditorium is very large, room for very few people who attend our meetings on a regular basis. the average number of people who attended our meetings in 2022 were about 15 to 20 people per meeting. Tonight, we happen to have a lot of people, but normally we'd get about 15 to 20 people. And holding our meetings in a smaller room would be more personal, and we could feel more connected with our community versus being seated so far away from each other. I didn't make the recommendations to change to a different day based on when Wyckoff was having their meetings. We did talk about it in committee, that there were some possible locations, like the media center and the cafeteria. The media center holds up to like 50 people. The cafeteria holds much larger number of people. So we were going to talk about it again at our next committee meeting. Maybe we could, we were just going to discuss it at our next meeting.
So, Mrs. Colacortis, because Ms. Emilo, the chair of the Facilities Committee, is representing to you that it would be entertained at the next committee meeting, would you be willing to withdraw the motion so that she can continue to coordinate with the superintendent? It sounds like they're leading towards maybe cafeteria and auditorium, and the media center is too small. Is that generally what we're sort of trending to? Would you be willing to withdraw the motion to let the committee do that work next month, or?
So no, I will not be willing to withdraw the motion. You cannot anticipate how many people will be arriving at a meeting. Tonight, I'm sure none of us thought there were going to be 80 people without us in this room, okay? So I just don't see any reason to do such a thing. I've expressed that in the last meeting we had. I also expressed it in committee. The question about the cafeteria came up, and I believe the answer we received was it is not air conditioned. And I don't know that sitting in a cafeteria is a more personal environment, and I do not wish to take my motion off the table.
I'd like to say something, Judy.
Sure.
So I'd just like to say that we have an obligation under the Code of Ethics to not use our seat for personal favors. And I'd just like to say that we should not be making, I'll wait.
I'm sorry, Mrs. King. Go ahead.
We should not be making changes to our board calendar for one town over the other two, number one. Number two, we also have an obligation to set the calendar and not change it every week because maybe the air conditioning's not working there, or it's going to be hot that day, or maybe we've heard there'll be more people, and changing location and time and or dates willy-nilly. So I believe that the calendar that our superintendent recommended, through going through all the countless checks and balances with the audiovisual department, with his staff who would be making presentations on such days, with our pay schedule to our finance committee, with the budgetary obligations that our BA has, I believe that that original calendar, which has the same number of meetings that Ms. Emilo proposed in her walk-in motion, would be the smartest thing for our staff, for our board, and for our district. Thank you.
All right, so if there's no, do you have a comment? I'm sorry.
May it be recognized?
Yes, of course.
So I think the only reason we're having a discussion about moving the meetings to a smaller, more intimate setting is because that's what the citizens and taxpayers had asked while I was campaigning. That was a very big item. Thank you. can you please explain where the meetings used to be before COVID?
So before COVID, I used to attend the meetings all the time. I never saw you there, but I used to attend them all the time. So basically, before COVID and before people were concerned about getting sick and possibly dying or being hospitalized due to underlying conditions, they would be held in the board office or they would be held in the media center. However, that's not the time that we're in now, so it really doesn't matter, Tom, where they were held prior to COVID. We have people who were very concerned about their disabilities and underlying conditions. Now we have other people who are concerned with getting sick. I hear people coughing, sneezing. We have people with underlying conditions.
I agree with you.
This is a bigger space. So I see no reason why we should put our constituents, as you call them, in a precarious situation of not wanting to come to meetings because we're in a more intimate setting. And may I remind everyone that these are board meetings open to the public. These are not public meetings that the board is invited to. Okay? We are here in public to show the people who elected us what we are doing, to show them that we are being transparent. And I'm not 100% sure if the suggestion to move to a smaller setting was not indicative of trying to keep people from coming to meetings.
Judy, Ms. Sullivan?
Yes, I
Thank
just want to
you.
respond
I'd
to
like to
that.
respond to Ms. King.
I'm sorry, Mr. Boganski, you're still going? I'm sorry.
I would just like to respond.
Sure.
I see a lot of people sitting right next to each other, and a lot of people that have been sitting next to each other all night. So if they're so concerned about their health, why are they all sitting next to each other? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Ms. Sullivan, may I be recognized?
Yes.
So, you know, when we started this meeting, you stated that you were in support of Dr. Dionisio, the superintendent of schools. If you are in support, truly, of Dr. Dionisio, then you will allow this motion to be taken into consideration, and you will do what he asked. What he did was he put that calendar on the agenda on January 5th, and you guys took it off. So if you guys are really in support of the superintendent, you will not vote against this.
Ms. Sullivan? Ms. Sullivan?
Did you want to speak? Oh, sorry. Yes, Mr.
No,
Lawrence.
I know. It's not working great tonight.
Oh.
I think what Ms. Kouloukourtis just said is really the crux of this issue. This is emblematic of trusting Dr. Dionisio, who made a schedule that should not have been changed because it wasn't arbitrary. Whatever consideration and deliberation he put into making that schedule, I don't know. I don't care. It's his responsibility. And for us to make alterations, maybe I like Tuesday nights better than Monday nights. Maybe I like Wednesday nights better than Monday nights. We have to accept what Dr. Dionisio put forward. This is not what I seem to see a lot. We're rubber stamping. Dr. Dionisio runs the schools, and this is another example of it. Let him run the schools.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes, Ms. Mariani.
Again, I'm a little concerned that every change that is brought up is being very hardly fought against. I don't think every change can be thought of as a negative. I think that the reason for the change in the calendar was a good one, and I think it's understandable if we still need to kind of tweak things. But as for being in this auditorium, I feel like it's very impersonal. I've been to board meetings in other towns, and in my opinion, this is very impersonal. I'm actually freezing. That's why I have my coat on. I think it would be reasonable to consider other locations, even if at this moment we can't. So my opinion would be to leave things as they are until we figure out a better answer. To try to change it tonight back to what it was originally, to me, seems very foolish. And I think there were good reasons to change it. And although Dr. Dionisio does run the school, this is a Board of Education meeting, and I feel like the board has a right to make it so it is more comfortable for not only the board members, but also for the community. Thank you.
I have one more comment, Judy.
Sure.
Dr. Dionisio is a member of the Board of Education, just so you know.
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate it.
All right, so there's a motion on the table to revert back to the old calendar per the agenda that was handed to me on January 5. I don't know if the other board members have had an opportunity to look at this, and the public doesn't have it either. I guess we just do a roll call. Ms. Demetrio?
Mr. Bogdansky.
No.
Mr. DeLate.
Yes.
Ms. Emilo.
No.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Ms. Koulikortis.
Yes.
Dr. Lorenz.
Yes.
Ms. Mariani.
No.
Ms. Anch.
No.
Ms. Sullivan.
No.